Welcome, everybody, to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream, April 15th. We have back with us one of our top performing stocks of 2021 with the last few months. Fans up just about, I think it was a 10 bagger from 25 cents to 225 in about six months. A bit of a pullback with the market. Everything is off. Everything has been on sale for the last 6 weeks. 50% off, half price sale. So Fans is no exception, right in the 90-cent range. But look, our goal is to bring you those stocks which have the 10x to 100x upside potential. We have back with us today Scott Burton, the CEO, Darius Agdami, the president of FansUnite. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thanks, Jack.
Hey, Jack. Thanks for having us.
It's always great to have you back. You have some fantastic news out just yesterday with the McBookie numbers. Maybe if you can, I want to get some color in that and talk about what else is in the pipeline. You have you got the UK gaming license. You got there's a bunch of catalysts right now in place, and I think we're actually at an interesting time. So I want you to kind of tell us, because right now I'm looking at the chart. I mean, the stock chart looks really fantastic. Like, I always talk about it. It's like this stock is like looking for a reason to go up. So you need to so today, hopefully, we'll get some good reasons for this stock to go up in terms of from the fundamentals. So first of all, let's talk about what's going on with McBookie. Give us some color behind the numbers.
Yeah, it was a good quarter for us. We hit records, kind of all over the place. So, betting volume was a big record for us. We had over 28 million bet on the platform. Revenue, another revenue record for us for any quarter since inception. We had just under $1 million of revenue in Q1 on McBookie. Highs of, I think, over 23,000 bets placed in a single week. That was another record for us. Tons of new active players in the platform. So strong quarter for us, but we still think it's still very early stages in our McBookie kind of life. We've only owned them for about a year now, but continue to grow that platform. We had a milestone to double the revenue from 2019 to 2020. We did that. We have a goal to double the revenue again this year. We're on pace to do that. So a lot of room to grow for us on the McBookie platform.
Okay, and McBookie, which market does McBookie operate in? Is that just Scotland?
So it's actually all of the UK.
All the UK.
We focus our efforts on Scotland. We really want to dominate that niche market right now.
Okay. And how big? It's a small country, but it's like a big niche. Do they bet a lot? Where does McBookie fit into that whole thing?
Yeah, the UK market's massive, right? And one of the premier gaming markets in the entire world. I think there's estimates that there's like 15 or 16 billion pounds of revenue in the gaming market out there. So we get to go after the entire UK market, but again, right now we're focused on let's dominate Scotland, and then let's keep moving outwards to the rest of the UK. Okay,
and now let's talk about in terms of the McBookie. We'll finish off with the McBookie, and then we'll kind of go through because the McBookie thing is really just a small part of the whole operation. The games, you got multiple aspects. You got the esports thing. So McBookie, what's driving the revenue? Is it a specific type of gaming? Like what's getting this doubling in revenue in the last year?
Yeah, so we focus on sports and casino. So on the sports side, traditional soccer and horse racing are two major sports. And then on the casino, everything from slots to table games. The cool thing about McBookie's growth is still very organic. We're not pouring a whole ton of resources into the market right now. That's something we are planning on doing later this year. But right now, the growth has continued to be organic, which is why we're confident we continue growing that, because we're going to pour additional resources into the business over the course of the next 12 to 24 months.
Okay, and actually, also, you guys were just raised a bunch of money just a couple months ago, right? You still sitting on, I don't know, what, $10 million plus 15 million?
Yeah, I was going to say that ties in something I was going to say around what we're doing with McBookie and why we're so bullish on more growth to come. So we did raise we announced 13.4 million in January. That closed. We have, I think, over 10 million in unexercised warrants, around that number out there still. Good revenue numbers. So we're still sitting on around 15 million because we've been eating into that. One of the things we wanted to do is ramp up on the operational side. So a lot of people. So we kind of went heads down for a couple of months there in terms of hiring and bringing people on. So I think since that time, so February and March, we've added almost 20 people to the team around the world, heavily on the development side, but we've also added some more people directly in Brazil. So a couple of people in Brazil for some of the growth stuff we're doing there. But it also helps us bring capital to McBookie for the marketing. So they've been around quite a long time before fans bought them. But, you know, it was really, Paul and Damien have done a great job of running it, but that was, you know, their business. So they had to be very careful on risk management, VIP management, because really it was their bank account at the end of the day that was going to get hit. Whereas now we can be add a little more risk tolerance to that business and actually grow it a bit more outside of just Scotland. So one of the reasons they focus, I mean, they're very good as a Scottish sports book, but when you can only manage so much risk, it was easier for them to do that in a smaller zone. So what we're doing now is bringing a UK license to the group to bring them off of the current platform they're on. And that's really prevented them from pouring money into the marketing, because technology-wise, it's not quite the best offering they could have, and it's not quite been stable enough to really risk a lot of marketing dollars, and that's going to change. So as Darius said, everything's been organic to now, and we've doubled it again on organic growth without really the marketing spend. Big opportunity in marketing spend coming up this summer with the Euros, so the soccer being over there and Scotland being in it, moving to our license, moving to our platform. So tons of upside still for McBookie.
Okay. Now you mentioned Brazil. I don't think we've really talked about what you're doing. What are you doing in Brazil?
Yeah, so Brazil, we with our platform, it kind of follows a bit of the McBookie strategy. So, you know, we own the technology of the gaming platform, which is a full player account management system, risk management, all the data, all the licenses. And so in certain markets, we've decided, you know, we will go in potentially as an operator, so direct to consumer. So a huge part of our business is B2B, but then McBookie is a direct to consumer. Again, it's got a little niche focus on Scottish sports. We launched a brand in Brazil called Vamos, and that is an esports first product. And it's going to have, it also does offer casino, and in the coming months, we're going to add traditional sports into it. So it's just started to bring in some revenue. Really what we've been doing is building the infrastructure around that. So that's why we've added some people in Brazil. We've signed on with 2 marketing agencies in Brazil that's going to do work. Really where we're at right now is dialing in our programmatic ad spending. So we're generating traffic now, we're getting signups, we're getting deposits. And then we're planning a pretty big push on the marketing front. So we'll probably come back very soon, I think, and give you an update on Vamos and what we're doing there around the partnership side, because we have some very big plans for that. There's some big events coming up in esports, and it's an esports first brand. So it's a trickle at the moment, but there's about to be some big movement in that site.
Okay, so Vamos. Okay, so the Vamos is Brazil based, and is what? There's a couple hundred. How many people? There's 152. How big is the population? It's pretty sizable, right? Brazil.
Yeah. I think you're in the hundreds of millions. I don't know the exact number, but it's a sizable one. What is very interesting about it, though, is it's one of the biggest esports fan bases, especially for Counter-Strike. So if you look at stats on viewership of Counter-Strike, which is probably the #1 title for betting, Brazil, Latin America is probably the second biggest viewership in the world for that. So that's kind of why we targeted that as a brand specific. The site's fully translated to Brazilian Portuguese. Every payment method is focused on Brazil. We've got now people on the ground in Brazil. So a lot of effort will go into that. And it's a great esports market, but it is also a pretty good sporting market. So we will be bringing some traditional sports into that site.
Okay, so Brazil. Okay, so basically the focus with Vamos, which is like your Brazilian platform, it's primarily, I guess, it's esports betting first.
Yep. It's esports first. So obviously, when we're going for that age group, 18 to 30-year-olds and gamers, we're going after a very different audience.
Brazil.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so I had no idea so they're number 2 in terms of Counter-Strike. That's like the biggest. I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing.
Yeah, in terms of viewership stats, last time we looked, they would have been number 2 for viewership of Counter-Strike.
Why do they like Counter-Strike so much?
They've had some really solid teams, but Counter-Strike's a very old game, and so anywhere that's had a good gaming environment for a long time, you'll find probably a good Counter-Strike base. I mean, it goes back 15 plus years, guys playing the original Counter-Strike. So anywhere that's, I think, got a long history in gaming. So it's big in like Scandinavian countries, Counter-Strike, very big in Eastern Europe. And then you go to Asia and you get a bit of a different mix of games. So it's very title specific based on region. And so, one thing we liked is Counter-Strike's how we got our start. So back in 2014, the first thing we ever did was in the Counter-Strike Daily Fantasy. That's really what kicked us off. So we've always had a soft spot for Counter-Strike, but it's also probably the number 1 betting title. So it's just been a big focus of ours. So that was a big reason for choosing Brazil.
Okay, so Vamos, you're basically starting the marketing now. So right now you're doing the player acquisition part.
Yep. Yeah. So we've been the last 8 weeks or so has been generating a lot of traffic and signups. We've been we're laying the groundwork. So everything we're doing is to be scalable. And so we're doing a lot of programmatic spending right now, which will allow us to ramp up once we get that dialed in terms of the target marketing and where we're getting users and signing on affiliates. Then we can really ramp up the spending. So we do that first in any new market. So we're getting that point where we're getting, very good information on what's converting well, and then we're going to do a few things around a major launch coming up soon. So we'll come back when that's ready to go, show you guys what we're doing in Vamos in Brazil, and then bring out some hopefully good registration numbers, signups, deposits.
And okay, here we go. We got some Brazilian gaming analysts on the call right now. So Ryan is saying total esports gaming revenue, Brazil 1.17 billion by 2023. Dollars, or what are they? Real? What are they? The dollar? What are they? Hope it's dollars. Hope it's USD. Okay. And so, do you have any metrics you can share on what is it going to cost you to acquire a player? How you can monetize?
Yeah, no, we tend to not share our acquisition costs and stuff, and we're using some partners there who also don't like us to share it.
Okay, everybody in this business is very secretive on that side in the game business.
Yeah.
Really, it's like Okay, so Ryan's saying 1.1. It's $1 billion, that's a lot of money for. I mean, who most people don't even know where Brazil is. I mean, in the U.S., nobody knows where that is. I mean, so basically, you're going to have, and of course, you're going to bring them in for the esports, but your strategy really is to make money on the RNG on those games, right? That's where you have the big margins, right?
That's the best case scenario, I guess, if you can find somebody who comes in to bet, whether it be esports or sports, but if you can get them into your casino, that's where you get the really good lifetime value bumps and really sticky product. They run 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You're not reliant on having an esports tournament going on or a soccer match. So if you can get people in there, that's sort of gold.
And it's predictable, basically. That's the other thing, right? It's predictable. And the margins. I mean, I think what is the margin is something like what's the number? I mean, the profit basically we talked about this a bunch of times recently is that with everybody, everybody's talking about esports, sports betting. That's a big thing, but they're really the profit margins are going to be very, very it's going to be like a razor thin. And the way all these guys are going to make money is hopefully somebody goes on their site and then they click over to the the casino games, the online games, which is the thing that you're really developing, these proprietary games. RNG again. What do you call it? I guess.
Random number generated games.
Show us. You'll probably show us. We have a lot of people. I think a lot of people have seen the demo, but maybe you have a new. But we'll show it anyway, just in case anybody's new. the crash ice, the other thing.
You want to do that now?
Let's do it right now, and maybe we'll hang on. Yeah, let's. Okay, so
well, just it's probably a good time to do a little update on that, Jack, because I mean it's something we've talked about. So where we're at on the games.
You want to press? You want to roll the demo?
Yeah, for sure. Let's second. Where am I? I was trying to figure out the share thing here.
Yeah, I think
am I sharing my screen now?
I see I see your whole screen, but you got to do. Okay, here we go. Okay, right. Okay, so I will pop it up here. Okay, we're ready to go.
Ready to go? Okay. So this will show the first 4 games that we've done. And so as you said, there's going to be people who've seen some of these. Where we're at is trying to get our 4 games done before the first aggregators will start to take them. So to do an integration, they want to see you have more than 1 game. So we got our first 4 all through QA ourselves, and then they're now with our first integrator being worked into their platform. So the first one was Titan Gems, a real game. So typical 5x3 real game, sort of what a slot style game is. Manga theme. This one is Crash Heist. Grand Theft Auto look and feel. It's a crash game, so you basically put your money in and try and get it out before the police come here. So you can see the cash out rising. Next one is Team Vortex, which is a first-person shooter-themed futuristic game. Another 5x3 real game. 2 teams here, sort of competing. And then the last one is actually the first game we ever did. Coming up is called Loot Hunter. I'll wait till that one comes up. This one here is built off a loot case concept, so very big in esports, or it's how games monetize. So you play a game and then you buy these cases or crates. So it's an activity that gamers are very much used to. Here it's just giving it a real money aspect. So you buy keys to open crates and win money. So we've got these now going into our first aggregator. Did we lose Darius?
Oh, yes, he's back.
Yeah. So we started building those because again, our esports background was in esports betting, obviously. We know the value of casino, but the casino products that were out there just weren't appealing to the same user. So again, 18 to 30-year-old gamers were coming on, and we didn't really have much to offer from an existing pool of games that we were looking at. So we set out to build our own last year. So we started Ascot Games. The big distribution model is to get them into these aggregators who then push it out to casinos, online casinos, and sports books. So they'll plug into hundreds of different operators. We got our first one going now, so we're in integration with the EAR platform. It's in their dev environment, push out very soon.
You should mention the numbers. Mention the number. Let's go, because those numbers are very impressive. Each game, and we talked about this before, like each game can generate how much per casino if it's like, moderately successful.
Yeah, we say like the numbers are, it's really all over, but it's, a single title could generate to us by casino, hundreds of thousands of dollars a month or million, in the 6 figures, low 6 figures, if it's a really top title. And then that's per game. So
per casino
title, yeah.
And there's thousands of these casinos that you can get into. Okay, so it's
absolutely, yeah. And so that's again the great thing about us making our own is you talk about the scalability of that model where we produce this game and we get it into the distribution chain of aggregators, and they're plugged into hundreds of casinos themselves, and then that game just generates revenue, and we've it doesn't cost us any more once the game's done, once it's out there. So when we have them on our own site, obviously we're taking all of the revenue. When we put them into someone else's site, we take a percentage.
Some of these games, I think just so people can understand, if you have a successful game on one of these, it could make, it becomes like a cash machine. It can make millions of dollars a year.
Yeah, millions or more. There's some games that are really popular that have been going for decades now on casinos.
I heard of games that are making, the developer is getting paid like, royalties, whatever, like 30 million plus a year, something like some crazy number like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you could, yeah, definitely would be true if you've got a top performing game that's out there, and some, like I said, some of these things have a lifespan of 10 years or more. Some have been around a long time. Obviously, it's like anything entertainment wise. Not everyone's going to be a hit, but we think we're onto something. We've got very good feedback. So, like I said, we're getting it into the first aggregator, and then from there we'll be able to, once we show that one done, we'll be able to push that side very much. Adding to that team right now, we are on our 5th game. We said we'll have 10 by the end of this year, and we're on track to do that.
So next time you're on, we're going to have a 5th game added to that reel, and by December you'll have 10 games to show us.
Yeah, so it depends when the next time I'm on is, I guess, if that 5th game's going to be on that reel. But our 5th game is underway.
Okay.
So there'll be one of the next times I'm on.
I guess the takeaway is that, so there's really kind of, I mean, you have multiple revenue streams, and these games could be like really like the kind of the home run. I mean, this could be like the thing which can make you, I don't know. Let's just say you have 10 games, and they're all like halfway successful. Can you make 10 million a year revenues from 10 games?
Yeah.
I'm not saying home runs. I mean, like okay.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
It's pure profit, by the way. The 10 million is essentially it's full margin.
Yeah, I don't think that's out of the question for sure. Yeah, this will be the year where we get to see.
Okay, this is the thing that everybody is waiting for. Now, let's talk about the UK gaming license. That's the other thing coming up. We get a couple of questions on that. Let me see. Do we have UK? Okay. Well, first of all, any update on the UK gaming license? When are you going to get this license?
Yeah, so we're still on track for exactly what we thought, which is Q2. So we submitted. Initial feedback was great. It sounds like it's a very clean submission. We've had 0 questions so far, so it's just in the UKGC's hands at the moment. So we've been estimating, if we stick to the timelines that they tell us, it would be around end of May. I'm expecting that maybe to leak into early June, but all indications are end of May, early June. We will be granted our 2 UKGC licenses. So we're doing the same in the UK as we did in Malta, which would be a B2B and a B2C license. So the B2B means we can then offer our gaming platform up to any UKGC licensed operator. The B2C will allow us to run the McBookie brand or any other brand we want to do in the UK.
Okay, so the UK gaming license is coming up probably, let's say, in the next 6 weeks, roughly 6-7 weeks, approximately 4.
Yeah, 6 to 8 weeks is kind of, I guess, where we're at. Yep.
Okay, and bottom line, okay, so also, can you talk about, like, I mean, the UK gaming license, that's considered like the holy grail, the gold standard.
Yeah, it really is. So, I mean, the UKGC license goes back to, I think it was around 2001. So they really came out and set the initial standards. Probably the toughest regulatory environment, I would say, really once you're operational. So the standards you got to adhere to. Getting the license, I would put, it's been a similar process to what we've been through in the Isle of Man previously, what we did in Malta. But I think in terms of regulatory standards for an operator, they're much higher. But yeah, people look to that as the gold standard. And we know there's other jurisdictions that it can be an advantage going into if you have a UK license.
Like which places, where does that give you an advantage? Once you have the UK gaming license, does it make it easier to get into, I don't know, let's say US markets? Or
where we're thinking it may come in the near term would be Canada. So we know there's Canadian markets that are looking to open up to outside operators, and my understanding is they're going to look at the UK and possibly even Malta as jurisdictions that if you've got a license there, you'll be granted early entry or entry on day one into the market, and then get the required provincial licenses later. So waiting to see what comes out of Ontario first, and then likely maybe Alberta here and possibly BC. So starting with the biggest province, then we'll see. But so it's a benefit, I think, possibly in Canada. The US is very different. The US likes to each state really wants to put their own stamp on their licensing, so they're not going to, it'll be looked at positively, I guess, that you've done that, but it doesn't necessarily help. Where it helps is, going through the process anywhere. We've been through it so many times. Doing the paperwork and making sure, knowing that we're going to satisfy all of the due diligence requirements, that gives us comfort. But the US, it doesn't help much.
Okay. Question here. What kind of savings will fans realize once the UK license is obtained?
You want to say, Darius?
Sure, yeah. I think, anytime you operate on a white label, not only are you paying the fixed fees, but you're also paying a rev share. So essentially, the more we're making on that platform, the more we're also going to save. If we look at just 2020 numbers, we probably would have saved close to $1 million if it was on our own platform. So, in 2021, again, on a full year, it would definitely be higher than $1 million that we would save right to our bottom line.
So basically, if you had the UK game license, you'd get $1 million plus to the bottom line from that.
Licensing and moving the tech.
Okay.
So, because part of what we're paying for is the platform, and it was a question, there it is. So I think our aim was probably be within 90, 120 days. There's quite a few things we're doing to make sure McBookie's got what we think will be the best product in the UK market. So we're adding a lot of things at the moment to that. So and then native applications are another one, getting payments. So it's more hard to say around getting things like banking and payments done, because a lot of that is comes after you get the license. And so we're usually ready before we get all the payments approved and everything. So we're doing as much as we can up front. But within a quarter of the UK GC license would be our aim on McBookie.
Okay. Nick is asking, okay, I'm not sure if I understand this question. Okay, so new game releases. Are you able to provide news to us as each game is released instead of waiting for several to be launched at the same time? I guess he's talking about with revenues, I guess. Do you understand this question? Maybe
so what we can do, what we're waiting on now is, again, it's left sort of our hands with the first 4 games. So the aggregator deal we signed was to take our games. So we signed our first aggregator, but we needed to get up to 4 games before the integrations would begin. So that's where we're at now, and why we've got 4 to show is that's all complete internally. That's been handed to the aggregator to put into their network. So once we get them, once the aggregator pushes them out, we'll be able to kind of come back with updates on how they're looking in terms of revenue performance. Then as we release games, we can come back and announce the release of every game. So we do intend to do that every game that comes out. We will be announcing. And then once we get live with the first aggregator, we're going to be a push to get into more right away.
Okay. What's happening with the esports, launching esports betting in the US? Was it Sky in Colorado you're starting off? Any update on that?
Yeah, it's another one where we've kind of done our part of the job, which was the biggest part, which was doing a remote server installation on tribal lands with the Southern Ute tribes. So we've got our betting engine, our database all sitting there now. We've got the site design done for them. That's up. We've done geofencing, so we've been able to fence off the entire state, including some certain parts within the state. So that's all been done. We've gone through their site. They use a payment system called Sightline, which a lot of people in the US use. So we're fully integrated with Sightline and pass through their process. So from our standpoint, as delivering the software and the site is done. Now we're just waiting for a final regulator down there to say go ahead. So we don't know that date yet. It's we're hoping any day. We'll come back and let people know. We'll make an announcement when it is live, but it's currently not in our control. Everything we were asked to do is done. It's a good example of how we can go into a state regulatory environment, meet all those rules and regulations around remote server, geofencing, KYC. So we're set up well for that. We did it in, I think, record time for them. It's led to some good opportunities outside of that state. But that's where we're at. We're just waiting for someone else to say, go ahead, turn it on.
So it could be any day, essentially, the esports will launch?
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I hate putting timing on things that are government related and regulation related because you never know.
Yeah, there's also delays in
Or
the
when it's
whole
going to go
COVID.
next.
People are
But
using.
yeah, it's ready to go.
Okay, so you've done your part essentially. Now it's just waiting for, I guess, whatever somebody in the office.
It tends to be, somebody going through a checklist of things, and it's everything from looking at the footer on the site, making sure terms and conditions look right. Yeah, we're just waiting for the word.
Okay. Okay. And in terms of Canadian, what's in terms of the Canadian sports betting? All that. What's the deal with that? When is that gonna start?
Yep. Yeah. So we're very actively looking at Canada right now. So the first thing I think people are asking about is the Bill C-218, which changes the betting laws in Canada, which will allow single event betting. So that's going to its third reading with the House of Commons next week, I believe April 22nd. Oh. And that will be the last reading before then it gets passed to the Senate here, who then votes it in, becomes a law. So the original, or what we had heard previously, was hoping for May, so approval in May, and I think that can still happen. There's a lot of motivation here to do that. So that, if that gets passed, that'll be a big positive thing in Canada. And then the next one we've talked about is Ontario, and I mentioned it a bit earlier, but the provinces, so right now in Canada, the governments run gambling. Some provinces are looking at opening up to outside operators, which would allow an operator like ourselves to either come into the Canadian market legally and operate, or as somebody mentioned there, we're looking to provide our technology to partners. So what you're going to see here in Canada is a lot of people that aren't in betting right now want to get into betting. So we're talking everybody from, telecommunication companies, the media companies, the people who have sports channels, sports networks here, mobile carriers. We've even, the Toronto Star, a newspaper, announced that they're going to get into sports betting when it's allowed. So we are actively looking at potential partners who are going to use our platform here. And again, having Malta licenses done, having UK will be done by that time.
So you're going to be on a fast track, really, to get, because of the UK and the Malta, that's going to give you a real edge in getting the Canadian license.
Yeah, we think that could be the case in Ontario, at least. That's one of the things they've talked about in their discussions, is to speed this up, because they do want to move fast. So
is Canada still part of the UK? Is that part still like a colony of?
We're still part of the Commonwealth, but yeah. So the passing is.
But there's a certain. I think in Canada they kind of, there's this kind of, if you have something in the UK, they kind of give it a little more credit. Yeah. Carries some weight.
Yeah, and the bill to get passed will have to. The final step is royal assent. So
Okay, in Alabama they're not going to care about the UK gaming license, but in Ontario they will. Okay, so how big? Okay, so in theory, this is kind of, I guess this is speculation, but in theory, do you think that how soon could you be operational in Canada, assuming it gets legalized in let's say by the end of let's say by June?
Yeah, our what we've been talking to people about, if I don't think Ontario will be June, but maybe if it's this year, but we're being prepared. We're talking to people and we're saying we would be ready to go for an NFL launch, so September. Again, it depends on how we enter the market. If it's through a partnership and where the technology, a lot of it then depends on them and some of their requirements, which are obviously unknowns at the moment. If we chose to go in directly ourselves as a brand, we'd be ready to go for football.
Okay, let me ask you a question. What, in terms of the UK gaming licenses, again, it's considered like a big deal. Like, how many companies are out there who have that license? Like, in other words, does the market give value? What would that add to the value of the stock? Do you think that would have any impact once you have that license, in terms of, does that I mean, what are you hearing from, like, I mean, you're dealing with like a lot of institutional investors, or more and more, I should say. You're getting some. So what have they told you about this?
Yeah. I think it would be a huge milestone for us. It's something we're talking about with institutional investors, or something we're talking about with potential analysts. They're looking at UK as a big step for us to get that. It takes months and months to be able to get that. You need the right team, you need the right kind of resources to get it. So for us, it's going to be a huge milestone, one of our biggest for sure of this year. Okay.
Okay. And I think we have another question about opportunities. I think this guy was asking about the esports betting. So once you get the thing in Colorado, do you have other states that you can enter for esports betting?
Yeah, there are. I think our bigger opportunity will be on the sports side, though, in other states. We're being asked now on that front, so we're talking to people about the sports betting side. So, one, the sports betting is still a much bigger opportunity financially. The challenge with esports at the state level is not every state has given guidance on esports or allows esports betting. So it's a bit down the list of priorities for the states. Obviously, sports betting is number one because of the huge volumes around NFL and all the major sports. So there's only a handful of states that will allow esports betting at the moment. We saw Colorado as the most favorable to esports, which is why we wanted to go there first. When you look at, say, 20 states around sports betting, you're looking at maybe 6 for, I think, really good esports opportunities today. That's going to change. Like we're talking to regulators. We know a lot of regulators are reaching out to us. We just talked to the Canadian regulators about esports betting. So they're trying to find out more, but sports is an easy one for them. Esports is a bit more to wrap their head around. So our bigger opportunity in the U.S. after this is on the sports side.
Okay, and in terms of you mentioned the financial picture. You have about 10 million in worth of warrants out there. What's the exercise price on those warrants?
78 cents.
78. Okay, so
we have 15 million in cash right now, 0 debt on the books. Okay. Good revenue streams coming in, so we're in a good financial position right now.
It's a great financial position. Let's say the stock goes back to $2. Realistically, a lot of those warrants get exercised, and now you have 25 million.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, and it's positioned as well. One of the things we should, we'll update on. We can't say anything specific, but bringing in the money in January, as we said, growing the team was a big priority. We've done a good job of that, and then Darius and I, a lot of our time right now is looking at acquisitions and just to update people, because we've said it. I know people want to see us do it, but we have no shortage
weekly they want you to see it. They want to see new deals.
They want to see us buy something every week, and we're being it's not for lack of things, I guess, coming our way. We have a very good pipeline, but we want to be very impactful and make some good long-term decisions on what we acquire, and so hopefully that's something we'll be updating on. But that was a big reason to take financing, then put ourselves in a position to be ready to go and take advantage of opportunities, and especially now, as you said, things are coming off a bit in the market, so there could be some better opportunities than we were seeing a couple months ago.
Okay, and I think what is it? It's one of your directors is very well connected in the market, right? That you're getting access to a lot of deal flow.
Yeah, I would say all of our directors, but yeah, we got one in particular who's been very, very good on deal flow for us, and sees. I feel like he sees everything that's for sale and not for sale. So we're, like I said, we're not short on that, and the nice thing is it's a lot of the things we're looking at are not ones that are being shopped by a banker group or something. These are ones that we've got good relationships with, and we like the businesses, we know the people, and so we want to do it that way.
Can you give us a hint? In other words, I'm assuming that when you did that raise in January, you probably had a couple things in mind. Potentially as possible acquisitions, no?
Yep. Yeah, we've had a few in mind, and we're still in the
Talking? Are you talking?
We've been talking to a lot of people. So yeah, there's talking going on for sure.
Okay.
And yeah, a lot take time, especially in a highly regulated space. You know, we have to be careful in terms of ownership structures of some of these groups and making sure, you know, who the ultimate beneficial owners are and making sure they fly with regulators and all sorts. Because, you know, we don't want to do anything right now that would impact our ability to enter the U.S. market, for example, or jeopardize the U.K. things.
Right.
So,
Right. Okay.
yeah, so that's why, I mean, some of the things we do, again, you know, even just putting out games, why can't we just, you know, throw it up on a website? Well, we've got to get through technical testing. We've got to get the RNG tested again. We've got to get the math tested. And then we got to get them into a certified, you know, random remote gaming server. So we, in the space we're in, some of these things take a bit longer than, you know, just putting up a website or throwing up a game that is not, you know, a licensed betting game. So same on the acquisition side, we got to put in a bit more time, I think.
So the business that you're in, essentially, there is, because of the regulations, everything else. You know, there are high moats in this business. I mean, it's not like somebody can just get into this like, you know, tomorrow, hey, we're gonna do, you know. So I mean, there's a lot of, you know, in terms of the enterprise value, that, I mean, the UK license should definitely be a help. So I'm kind of, so if I'm trying to understand what you're saying, is that I'm kind of, you know, reading into what you're saying is, okay, you got a bunch of possibilities, candidates, but you don't want to really push anything until after you get the UK gaming license, because if you do something with these guys now, then that's going to like open up more questions with the right, you know, they're going to ask, you know, it's going to create more, you know, you want to speed things up. And after the UK license is when you can kind of maybe, you know, speed things up on the acquisition side. Yeah.
No, the UK wouldn't impact some. I mean, if they're a UK operator, it would, or then it would be a bit more work on what we're doing. So, but no, it's more about making sure we're not bringing on any shareholders of a certain size that we would have to go back to the regulator. So if they're a certain size, you know, or a material change to the business, we would have to go back and sort of lengthen the process of getting a license if we're in progress.
Okay. All right. I think I just realized we're almost out of time here.
Okay.
Let's wrap up. What's in a nutshell? What's milestones coming up? You got the UK license. What else? What else is in the hopper for the next 6 weeks?
UK license. We'll have some, you know, some stuff going on the Vamos site specifically. We'll probably be back, and then hopefully we'll have news on where the ear's at on the integration, and then fingers crossed, Sky.
Okay, so Vamos is really like, we're going to be hearing more about that, the Brazilian gaming business.
Yeah, we've been putting a lot of things in place. So as I said, we've got some new people on the ground in Brazil. We've got some contractors working on some things. We've got 2 digital agencies, and then a couple of bigger announcements we'll have coming.
Okay, so I mean, that sounds like a sizable operation. Okay, I'm going to let Darius, because Darius hasn't said too much today, so we're going to have Darius close it out. Darius, you know, the favorite question we have is, in your opinion, top 3 reasons to want to own FansUnite right now for investors.
Yeah, for sure. I think one thing we always talk about is team, right? Our team is world-class, from our board to our management to our technical team. So that helps make sure our software is, you know, world-class as well. One of the best in the market. And I think one thing we don't really talk about really is kind of execution. You know, when Scott and I come out and say we're going to do something, we go ahead, we do it, right? We put our heads down, we get that done. With our UK licenses, with next step being New Jersey licenses, doing our part for our casino games, doing our part for Colorado. When we put numbers out there in terms of revenue, we hit those numbers. You know, we wanted to double revenue from 2019 to 2020. We did that. We want to double it again this year. We're on pace to do that. So for us, but you know, when we put something out there publicly, we want to make sure we execute on it. And I think, you know, over the course of the last year and over the course of the last 7 months since the merger, we've really been able to do that.
Okay, excellent. On that note, I want to thank you guys, and we'll look forward to hearing more from you. You know, when you have the next big news.
All right. Thanks, Jack.
Thank you, guys. Okay, let's get ready for Relay Medical for Superman. We have Superman waiting in the wings. Let me just set things up right here. Okay. Stand by. Okay, we have we're gonna have Clark here in just a second. Clark.
There he is. Jack, how you doing?
Fantastic. How are you?
No complaints. Let me get closer up here so
Yeah,
I'm
I want
more
to get you
intimate. I
centered.
don't look
Yeah,
like
exactly. Perfect. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay, so let's see. Do we have? Make sure we got. Yeah, we got a lot of people waiting here. A lot of Relay fans. All right. Welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's Discover Day live stream, April 15th, 2020. We are back with Relay Medical, RELA, on the CSC, RYMDF. And of course, we have Clark Kent, CEO of the company. Clark, welcome back again.
Thank you, Jack. Good to see you. You're looking good. The lighting's really good with you. You look like $1 million today, maybe more. You're looking good.
It's the trick lighting. That's what it is. It's an illusion. So Clark, congratulations on excellent news. You have this Canadian lab deal that you announced. I don't know, it was last night. This basically today is officially, before the
Aftermarket last night. Yeah.
Okay. For the COVID testing in Canada. Can you give us some color on this? I mean, this is supposed to be like a massive, this is like a massive lab company in Canada. They do like 100 million tests a year. What are you doing with them? What's happening there?
Quite frankly, I think this is about as big as it gets as far as a single engagement or partnership can go in this country. So Life Labs is the largest, probably oldest lab company in the country. They've got over 380 facilities across the country where they collect and do tests for over 20 million Canadian citizens. I think they do over 120 million tests per annum. These guys are the big players in the field. They're in every province and they're a household name here. You can't be working in or around a business center and not be familiar and not have visited a Life Labs if you're a Canadian over the last 20 years.
And how are they using your technology? Why do they need you?
So quite frankly, Life Labs, what's great about them as far as partners for us is they've got the infrastructure and they've got the people. They've got over 6,000 employees, I think, across the country. As I say, they've got close to 400 actual labs or collection centers across the country. And they are about as when Canadians think testing, they think Life Labs, and when Life Labs thinks antigen testing, they think the FioNet. And so this is why we're in bed with these guys, and we've just rolled out this partnership. They are operating in pretty much every vertical in the testing field you can go through, whether or not that's testing businesses, testing people regularly at their locations. They have deals with airports, with airlines. They're in, they have commercial deals. This really, to us, where we went back and we talked about our initial engagement when we first started talking, which was with the GTAA at Canada's largest airport here in Toronto. Life Labs is going a step above that. Life Labs essentially brings us across the country, allows for us to launch our technology nationwide with the right people behind it. So in the case of Life Labs, you have these 6,000 employees. Now you can use that infrastructure with our devices, with our systems across all of these applications. So this is an enormous deal for us. Certainly, I would say, in my opinion, as close to a company-making deal as you could say. I mean, this right off the bat, kind of within the first couple months here, we'll be building towards hundreds of thousands of tests per month capability with them. You remember, we've talked about this. I mean, our business is, we're not selling tests. We are not the test seller. We don't have a test that we sell this person or that person. We're competing on costs and what they're doing. We are a platform that works with all tests. So if you have Abbott's, if you have Roche's, if you have whatever your test is that is okayed by the government, the Canadian government, the US government, wherever you're operating, we work with, and we provide efficiencies to not only the overall system, but also to the error checking and the protocol updates and all those things. So what does this allow our partners to do? What does this allow other companies to do, or other groups, healthcare organizations, to go out to test, to collect the data, to know that they're getting accurate results from the tests that they're doing, to know that they can instantly change protocols or update protocols for the people that are in charge of doing these tests. So this is it's a holistic solution. With Life Labs, this is like us. I don't know what analogy to use. It just, quite frankly, in Canada does not get any bigger. So Canada's about the size of California. We know that we're a small country. I can say now with this partnership, I don't see I don't see what's left for us really to do in Canada as this rolls out. I think we've kind of got the market cornered here in so many ways, and now's the time to make the jaunt across the border and to start duplicating this in other regions. But this is the big one. This is a big one, and I think our market will start to take note of that once they do a bit of due diligence over the next couple of days on just what we're doing here.
Okay, so jumping right into the questions from Nathan. For what can you expect to generate? He's getting right to the bottom line. What can you generate as far as revenues per test? How much are you gonna make per test?
So here's what I'll say. When we're talking per test amounts, we're talking dollars. We're not talking cents. Now, I'm hesitant to go into further details because, as you know, cost basis and some of our models work on different solutions. But we're talking dollar amounts per test, not pennies here. So these are very material deployments for us.
And you said you said you're going to be ready to do hundreds of thousands of tests.
We by June and likely before that, but by June we'll have the capacity to do hundreds of thousands of tests or more for that matter. Look, when you start really looking at the numbers here and what's happening, it doesn't take long to get yourself up to a few 100,000 tests when you're testing in the largest airports in the country, when you're testing in certain other places, when you're testing corporately. I mean, the whole point of what's happening here is the way to beat this thing, with the discussion of the variants, with the discussion of vaccines and their efficacy and which markets and what it means, is that you're going to have to continue to test, and you're going to have to continue to roll out a vaccine, and you may have to do that for a few years. We may have to look at a system where we're tracking this year over year, and you're going to be tested and you're going to be vaccinated, with a booster over the next few years. These things are still very early. Testing is not going anywhere. It will become very apparent. Companies like Life Labs, companies like the GTAA or airports, there's a reason they're moving to antigen testing right now. There's a reason they're doing deals with companies like us that have the background in deploying this at mass scales, right? I mean, we were talking about testing over 1 million patients before in some of the most difficult regions around the world to operate in. Now we are in our own backyard, and now we are working with, at least right off the bat now, the two biggest possible partners we could have in this country is Life Labs and the airport, and we've got them both. So it's a coming out party, Jack.
No, so basically, just for anybody that's kind of new, watching this, can you maybe explain how does your platform essentially? What is it? It allows for testing of infectious diseases at scale, right? So this is about
That's correct.
This is not like again, you're not selling tests. You're selling basically. You have a technology that explains. Clark, do you have the device? Are you stuck at home? They have you locked in?
What? No, I don't. I wish this was my home. No, this is a part of our office, and I don't have a device on me right now. We are over capacity in our lab, so with these multiple rollouts, I'm stuck over in corporate trying to make my forehead look smaller and make sense for you and your viewers. But no, I don't have the device on me. We can definitely
I'll see the other
circulate a picture after. But what you're talking about is a point of sales system. It looks just like that. You put your credit card in, your credit card reader. What that does is it takes existing antigen tests, the RDT tests you hear about Abbott, you hear about Roche. These are the tests, the stick test, the swab, or you're doing a small blood sample. If you're doing antibodies, you take these tests and you run them through our system. You use our holistic system. This allows you to complete more tests faster, more accurate, and automatically transmit that data to the people that need to know what the results are, so you can be compliant with the government or whatever organization, regulatory authority that you need to be serving. That's effectively what we do. It's not, the sex appeal is maybe hard to come by now with a lot of the quite frankly, I don't know what I would call some of these other companies in the space and other guys kind of goofing off and starting trying to recreate the wheel. We're not doing that. We're taking something we've proven to scale. We've shown that it works. It's been validated by the biggest and most conservative, reputable organizations in the world. Now we can say that in our own backyard. We're taking that, we're taking it to airports, we're taking it to schools, we're taking it to workplaces, we're taking it wherever you need to test a lot of people fast, efficiently, to get them into a ball game or get them back to school or back to their work or whatever it is, onto their plane, onto their cruise ship. We're testing. That's what we're doing. And Life Labs fast tracks us there, because we're not now walking around looking for 70,000 tests per month deals. We're working with the biggest player in the field. We're going to let them do the heavy lifting. We're just going to provide the technology, and we'll clip a coupon along the way, and hopefully learn something from the best in the business.
Okay, so I mean, basically, what this does, it just enables, again, mass testing at scale for infectious disease. And we're only talking about COVID right now, but yeah, this has been used around the world for, I don't know, what is it, Ebola, for like anything. And essentially,
Ebola, malaria.
To go into the database, to take that test, send it to whatever the data, wherever they need to get the data, and then also then they can track outbreaks, patterns, whatever the data, whatever.
That's right.
Whatever
The data, and quite frankly, Jack, you hit it on the head. And oftentimes, we maybe haven't really driven that message home, just because the fundamentals really speak for themselves. I mean, at the end of this interview, I know we're going to come back to that gold standard question that you asked. I can tell you it's very simple, but we can step back, and for right now, we can say, look at the fundamentals, do your due diligence, look at the players, look at who we're deploying with, do a little due diligence, pick up the phone, send an email, try to understand our model. It shouldn't take you long, and you are going to understand pretty quickly that we have a very serious business here, and that it's only getting bigger, and there's only more value to it as we talk about what changes have happened here in the global kind of marketplace. You hit something on the head. It's not just COVID-19. So there are these other diseases that we can test for: the Ebola, malaria, listeria, HIV, dengue. All of these other things we've done well. It's documented. You can Google it. We do these things, but let's talk about the future. And the future is
COVID-22, COVID-23.
You name it. I mean, look, we can test for influenza A and influenza B. So if you have our system at the airport, like a couple like an airport in our region now does. If you want to do these other tests in the future because you want to use some deductive reasoning to say, okay, it might be COVID, but let's just check and see if this is the common flu or whatever it is. It's about giving that flexibility. If you have a test that passes regulatory approvals and is okayed in that region, as a rapid diagnostic test, we can run it on our system. We can do 60 or more per hour. 60 is kind of the number we're going with right now. Checks it for errors. Make sure that you don't have a machine. That's right.
And again, so you can have 50 machines in the airport.
Look, you don't even need that many, but yeah, exactly. I mean, we were talking to a municipality here last week, and I think they had 50,000 people, and we said 2 days and 20 devices, we could do the whole city. That was kind of just a general arithmetic. But really what this comes out, it's just fundamentals. It's just fundamentals. It's not recreating the wheel. It's no special test. It's the gold standard. It's what's been used around the world for testing for infectious diseases. You're just using a system now that's been proven to decrease your errors, increase your output. And the big one is you don't have to have more human resources behind this, because the system is doing the uploading, the system is doing the error checking, and the people can actually focus on administering the tests the right way, and doing the swab, making sure that they follow the protocols, making sure that things, it's a very stressful place in the airport anyways. I mean, you add this in, these are stressful situations. We take that stress out of there, and I think that's been very well recorded with a couple of the groups that we've come to the table with now.
Again, one of the things that, and again, we have videos, we have kind of the video where we did a demo, you did a demo of the product, which really explained it, but part of what this is that essentially it takes, it's not, this whole testing business is not about a test, it's about making sure that test goes to whoever needs to track it at the government level, whatever it is, and then they have that data and all that stuff. So your system is basically takes that test, gets and connects it to that database, essentially.
That's right. That's right. So it's holistic. It's from the time of taking the test, RFID, barcode. You take the test. It's in the system. It's already in the case of the airport, the person, the patient, the flyer, the traveler.
And it enables consistency. It enables real consistency tracking because, as you said, people make errors. They get samples mixed up. This basically cuts down everything.
Exactly. And, we've already, in our deployments been catching false positives. So there's, look, we've got, it's a lot of excitement here. It's a lot of excitement here. It's a lot of pressure. We're working with the big boys. There's major plans for what we're rolling out here. The numbers will become very apparent, I think, to the investing public and to our shareholders and the people who watch. But we are talking about really enabling for the mass testing wherever you want to in a holistic system. And now we're doing it with the biggest player in Canada. And that's what I can say.
Okay, so we got questions about numbers. People want to get to the numbers. So Dylan is asking, is there a date that revenue stream, when can we get some metrics out there? Metrics, everybody wants numbers.
Yeah, so we are absolutely going to be communicating more often now that some of these deployments have been public. Of course, we have our financials that go out as a public company, so those will trickle out as they do for companies across the space. We are going to, as I say, there's going to be a lot more for us to talk about. Whereas before we were looking at and we still are, a few contracts here and there that are not huge numbers. You're talking 70, 50,000 tests per month. These are not huge, when you consider our numbers, they're not huge accounts. What this engagement allows us to do is actually focus on deployment and not worry about chasing these accounts now. We're working with the biggest player in the field, so they can plug and play us, and we can focus on other regions. We can focus on making sure that we do what it is that we need to in order to deliver on these things, and show the clients exactly what value proposition we have. And it won't take long.
Okay, so Clark, the name of the company is Relay Medical. It's not Relay COVID, right? So you have a lot of stuff besides this technology, and again, this is just, it's a platform that can be, multiple disease, infectious diseases. And of course, look, the trend is, kind of the cat is out of the bag. It's almost like, right after 9/11, airports, you had the all new security procedures, that became a whole massive business. And this has not gone away, right? It's in the U.S., you got to take your shoes. Yeah, it's a whole thing. And
you're exactly right.
Added. So the COVID, so this testing thing at airports, at big events, I think this is going to be, not only is it going to be here for a while, but there's definitely going to be new diseases coming in, because once these things, there's going to be variants for forever, basically. This is,
it's going to be, and look, it always goes back to the public, the people, at least of, countries in North America are really going to be expecting that the next time these systems are in place, that you will be able to get tested, that you're not going to have to not see your grandmother or your father or whomever is in an old age home for a year. that you're not going to have this deteriorating mental health because we have to lock up and everybody's got to hide in their rooms under the sheets because we don't have the infrastructure to properly roll out testing. We can do that. We could do that 6 months ago. We could do that. Now, as we thought, and thank God we did, we had the right people who have experience in this, that in the future, it's going to be antigen testing. The PCR stuff is where it begins, but there's only one way it can go, and that's exactly what we're seeing. And you're seeing it across the board. And you're seeing airports around the world build holistic labs so that in the future they can do this for other things. And we're part of that. We're part of that change in thinking. We're part of that change in this global kind of view of what our safety looks like in these places moving forward.
But I kind of went off on the tangent because besides this, and besides this technology, you have some other technologies kind of in the company. And I remember we kind of talked about that. You're essentially your focus to really build out an innovative medical technologies company, like maybe using some acquisitions, other things. Like what? Tell us about the other growth initiatives that you have. You've made an acquisition recently of like an AI IoT AI component.
So it's quite simple actually, Jack. This is not a diversified holdings kind of game. What it is we're sticking to what we're good at, and we're sticking to where we believe the market's going. And so we have 3 product lines. The 3 product lines are our pandemic testing platform, which is now partnered with the largest player in Canada and in the largest airport. We have the PharmaTrack, which is an AI platform, very similar in component in nature. Basically, we're using a camera rather than to read a test. We're using a camera to read and identify medication. And then thirdly, which is our acquisition of Cybeat, is we have a IoT cybersecurity product line or product lines which protects these. And really, where this came from, we knew about this company for a couple of years. They are kind of the darlings of the marketplace in cybersecurity in Canada, and they've made some name for themselves, in the U.S., and they've been followed by kind of key opinion leaders there. So we knew that this was an asset of value. But when we really experienced it firsthand, their value was when we got into deploying these medical devices in these critical infrastructures where you're operating within an existing highly regulated system. You've got all sorts of devices that are connected through servers, some that are connected through 5G. So you got phones, people are wired in other phones. You've got all these things, and there are places, many of which are well understood, where you are not protected by some of these more traditional forms of cybersecurity. So Cybeats effectively has been something that is developed strictly for IoT devices, and really from a critical nature, looking at things like the manufacturing business. You've got a manufacturing line where your business all runs automated using a network, and there, who knows, your camera in your parking lot may not be secure the way that it should be, which you've seen in several companies recently. Major data breaches. Off the top of my head, I can't. I'm trying to figure out, but I'll give you the wrong name, and I don't need that problem. But if you Google it, you Google cybersecurity IoT, it's huge problems. It's as fast as the market can be moving right now. These are where the unicorn deals are being done. You look at cybersecurity; they're getting crazy valuations. We've got virtually no value baked into our stock yet for that acquisition. I'll tell you right now, you could probably pull the office, and the expectation is this thing could be well bigger in not too long of a time than anything we have in hand right now. And I think the fundamentals show that we're undervalued. Cybersecurity is the future because the rest of the technology world has surpassed it, and there are these known gaps, and we're filling them, and we can do that firsthand with the devices that we're deploying and ourselves, and the concerns that we have ourselves. It's commercial, so these will be the next announcements on Cybeats over the next couple months. We're talking commercial announcements. This is not an R&D never plan, spinning the wheels. This is a product line. It's in the market. We're deploying it on our own assets. It'll be deployed on others, and I think the market will take note very quickly on what we have there. I know the industry already has.
So the Cybeats, essentially, what is that? That enables medical data to be transmitted securely, essentially?
It's an integrated security platform that can be put directly on the device to secure and protect IoT devices. With this, it eliminates the downtime from attacks. And as you know, I mean, cybersecurity is almost like insurance, right? It probably won't happen to you, but if it does, it could ruin you. You know, it could ruin you. You know, your business could be done. You know, there's many examples of this recently where through a little bit of a breach, you have some massive, you know, liability issue because somebody was able to get in through a crack here or there. This is unique. It's a very unique approach. It limits the downtime that happens on devices because if you're manufacturing, of course, you can't just shut down your manufacturing facility and work out what is and what isn't a problem. This instantly detects and neutralizes when you have a breach and that's or an attack, and that's what it does. It's a key. It's like hand in glove with everything that we do. We deal with secure information in airports, health related secure information, passenger data in airports. So firsthand, you see that this is something that is needed. And we will be putting a big communications push on Cybeats very shortly because we do know in the midst of the COVID hysteria and action and of course these big developments that we've had, we know that people are not yet completely aligned with how much value there is there. I'm going to predict that they're going to be very aware of that within the next kind of 4 to 6 weeks for sure.
Ethan is asking, are you going to be offering the Cybeats as a product, as a separate product, or is it just for your internal use, for your own? You know,
Oh no, this is a product. So this is a product. This will go out to companies that develop IoT devices. It's not just medical. Of course, the synergies for us is that we are deploying medical devices, which happen to be IoT wireless devices, and they need that type of security. But any device, as I say, manufacturing. So smart, you know, cars now that are cars that hook up to the internet that can be hacked into. You can read all about that. Some horror stories. So yes, no, this is a product. This is something that will be generating revenue for the company alongside our other 2 product lines that we've discussed.
Okay, Brian is asking, will you? Congratulations on the I guess the deal with this lab deal, but will you require financing to meet any of these large contracts? I guess he's concerned about potential dilution.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. At present, no, we're well capitalized. So there's no plans certainly at this valuation to go out and look for any more capital. It's not required. We have in hand what we need. I mean, we've kept our burn very low and are now really doing the scale up, which we're doing very carefully. And this is just about now deploying the devices, deploying the devices. So we've got, you know, we announced a close of an $8.5 million financing there about 60 days ago. And we've seen some warrant coverage. We're well cashed up. So that's not something that is currently there are any plans to be doing here at these levels. I think, you know, like any good operator, in the event that the market starts to pick up on where our valuation should be, and we get to a place where that makes sense, you know, you always want to make sure that as you're growing effectively and you're handling your risk. And this is a huge deployment. We expect to see several others like that, several other partnerships like that. We're working on it as we speak. And so there's going to be a lot of work here, but we have what we need.
You know, probably the way this is actually going to work is that most of these deployments are, you know, the business is really going to take off probably months from now, like after everybody forgets about the whole COVID thing. These tests are going to be bigger than ever. But it's not going to be front page anymore. But the money will. That's when the business is actually going to be kicking in, because you know, everybody bought into the hype. You know, the hype was, you know, a year ago, basically that was the hype state.
Yep.
Now that you have real solutions deployments where this is where the testing is really going to become part of like travel. Yeah, and I think somebody mentioned cruise lines or whatever. I mean, the cruise lines for sure. I mean, I guarantee you that will never go away. Testing for cruises, they're going to be doing this for the next 20 years.
here's the issue is that
space travel they're going to be doing it for, whatever.
Yeah, there you go. So we'll get our helmets. Here's the issue right now, Jack, is that we look at this through this lens of North America. Most of us have been vaccinated, or a lot of us are getting vaccinated, or at least people in our family that maybe classify for certain things, or people like us that work in the medical field. But it's happening, and we have this idea that, okay, everybody's going to be vaccinated in the next 18 months, and then why does anybody need anything? We're going to be out, and it's going to be party time again. The problem is, I mean, we have open borders, we have travel. The world is a big place. Not everybody's getting vaccinated.
It only works for a limited amount of time. You have variants,
and there are a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions about that. We're learning things here. We're learning in real time, and so it's been great that the media has taken their foot off the gas a little bit about scaring the shit out of everybody. At the same time, I wouldn't yet be putting your mask and hand sanitizer away. It is there's you look at, I can tell you, the airports we deal with, most of them are planning on ramping up their testing to very high percentages for next year. You're talking close to a majority of your travelers, where you don't have the proof that when somebody's coming in, they've been vaccinated. You don't know that you're going to respect whatever regulators on the other side that's telling you that. So you're going to need a negative test in order to let them in the country. And people, and I mean all of us jumping on a plane should say, I know people who are not vaccine people who would very possibly say, yes, I've been vaccinated. You're jumping on the plane, and you can still be a carrier. And so you're on there with somebody, and you're sick.
There's also this thing, okay, so like, I know in the US for sure, you buy a plane ticket, there's the airline fee, right? But then there's like the security fee that they after 9/11, they added the security fee is like, I don't know, is it $30 or what? I mean, they basically, so the testing, and they're gonna probably call it, I don't know, some sort of health fee. Yeah. That's gonna become another revenue stream for governments. And they're going to kind of, and not only is it just, not only obviously, they want to make money, but also, look, they don't want to take any chances. It's just like, why not? If they're able to pass on $3,
it's a rounding error.
A security.
Honestly, it's a rounding error. When you're talking about a plane ticket, when you're talking about a cruise, these are rounding errors. These numbers, and what's happening?
$20, yeah. What's the big deal?
Exactly, and what's happening, or less. Depending what they want to charge for the actual implementation of the test. But the best thing that's happening for our business right now is the actual costs of the individual tests are plummeting. So all these players who are coming into the market, which should have been, by the way, our government would have been nice if they would have moved a little quicker on that to get more antigen tests into the market, would have opened the market up a little more to allow for people to get tested. This is what's happening now. The more tests that are in the market, okayed by the government, the better for us, because we can read them all if they're regulatory approved. And as other tests, we have a test in our portfolio that's in the R&D space that can test whether or not you're likely to be more or less ill from once you have COVID. There are all sorts of little R&D things out there, different tests that will come online. There will be different tests for variants, very likely. Different things. They all work with our device. So this is kind of the world we're going to live in. And I'll tell you, I'm betting, probably not my next visit on here, but I will say the one after, which will be a good one. This will become even more clear. I think the media is going to pick up on a few things very soon. I think this engagement that we have now is a big part of it, and testing is going to be. It's going to be here for a while, and unfortunately for us as a business, unfortunately for us, like everybody else, we all want to get back to the beach. We want to get back to having dinner and having fun with our families. Maybe not our in-laws, but definitely friends and families and guys down at the bar. But it's going to be a while. It's going to be a while.
So again, a bunch of people asking the same question. Numbers. When are we going to see some numbers out again, which are going to show? So, metrics, the result, from tests, something that people essentially that they can, extrapolate into the upside?
Let's try to put a bow on that over the next week. I think it will trickle out. I think it will become apparent. As I say, all I can really say is that we're talking dollars, not pennies, for these per test, and it's our expectation. Or I can say that we are, we are ramping up, as was in the press release. We are ramping up with Life Labs to have the capacity to do hundreds of thousands of tests a month. That's what we're doing. That's just what we're doing under the banner with Life Labs. It's not including what we're doing everywhere else with agreements that we've or relationships and contracts that we've disclosed, some of which we have not yet disclosed. But you'll stay tuned. But really, I think it will become apparent very, very soon. And I'm not trying to be vague, just trying to make sure I don't break any rules here.
Okay, Clark, we don't want you to break any rules, but so we're going to wrap up here with right now, based on this new deal, based on what's happening, we've had right now. What's I'm going to make it simple. What's the number one reason why investors should want to own the stock today, in your opinion? It's not,
I think you've answered it. The number one reasons investors should want to own the stock today is that we've announced this partnership last night, and our market, I think, is down 2 cents the last time I checked it. So I think maybe we're talking to a bigger American audience. Just think of this as we have now got the California market covered. That's Canada. Canada is California. 36 million people, very liberal but hyper conservative on the medical side. We're now in partnership with the biggest player. There is not a better player in the country you could want to be working on, and we have a very broad scoping engagement with them. You couldn't ask for a better deal in Canada. You really could not. I mean, I'm saying from the operation side. This is as big as it gets for us for a single agreement in Canada, no question. So when you ask today, why should they be owning it? That's I would have to say the number one reason. If you're going to say overall, I'll say number two. We acquired Cybeats 6 weeks ago. None of that value has been baked into the company yet. It will. I would be very shocked if in the near term here it doesn't become majorly apparent as the value that we've added. Not only, as I say, to protecting our own devices, but to the market, to the people that we work alongside of. This is a very big deal. And third, I think dollars and cents, if you sit down and you compare our fundamentals to others in the space, in the COVID space, let's just say in the COVID space, and you look at our valuation, it's hard to come up that's not undervalued, and there's all different reasons. We were really the guys that were super conservative in the beginning of this. We didn't come out making big splashes or big promotion. We stuck down to making sure we could deliver what we could. We're doing that. We're doing what we said we could. The market's starting to take notice. You see the biggest players you look at Spartan and Canada, who got $80 million from the government. They're big news last week because they're filing for bankruptcy protection or something along those lines. Things are not good. We didn't go out and talk. We did, and now we're coming out to talk, and we're showing you what we're doing, and I think we're showing you every bit of validation that you need to see that now is a good time.
Okay, Clark, on that note, I want to thank you, and we'll look forward to the next update.
Thank you, Jack.
When was the next big update?
We should probably look as soon as you want to see me. I'll hear. We don't just have to talk about this. I like to talk about other things too, Jack. What video games? What do you want? I was late for this interview, so I got to look at the last. That was a good. I'm into that now. I'll be back on my terminal, probably buying a few shares there. So Jack, whenever you get lonely, I'm here.
Okay, perfect. Clark, and I want to thank you. We'll see you on the next live stream. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today.